Hello, hello, hello. Antphrodite here, your pop culture psychic. Back to you again with another true crime reading. This time it's an update on the Bryan Kohberger, Idaho 4 murder trial case. If you're not familiar with this, I have done two previous readings. I'll put a link to it up here years ago. Bryan Kohberger is the main suspect in the brutal murder of 4 Idaho students. It was a big, huge viral moment back then, and then there was a huge gag order put on everyone involved. So it's been pretty quiet, and there hasn't been many details. However, it is in the news today that allegedly Bryan Kohberger is set to accept a plea deal. So it would be him pleading guilty and accepting a plea deal. And a lot of the parents are unhappy of the victims. The parents of the victims are unhappy. People are wondering, how did this happen? Why would they do this? It will allow him to avoid the death penalty, but I believe he would still receive life in prison. This is supposedly supposed to happen on Wednesday. I'll be filming this on Tuesday, so this will go up on Wednesday. So might have to do a part 2 if more information comes out by the time I upload this. But I'm going to kind of see what happened. I haven't done a reading on this in a very long time. People have been asking me for an update for forever, and I figured I might as well just wait until the trial, but now the trial might happen, so here you go. Remember, these readings are all the different tapers only, and let's get started. Whew. Okay. If you guys like these, make sure you hit the join button down below to join the YouTube members. A lot of additional content is the best way to support me. All right. I'm going to look at Bryan, and then I'm going to look at the prosecution, I guess the people giving him the plea deal, and then I'm going to look at why. Oh my God. Okay, I can tell you there's an issue. There has to be some sort of issue with, okay, so I think the word is prosecution, the people going after Bryan. There's something to do with, so the 6 of Swords is a few things. One, there's an issue with the story and him traveling. I wonder if it's his car. There's some sort of issue with travel or the internet, or perhaps the cell phone. There's an issue with the evidence when it comes to maybe his whereabouts, his location, or the driving, or the car, or the internet, or the pinging of the cell phone. Something to do with that is a big issue with their evidence. That's number one. Number 2, the 6 of Swords is about change and travel. I'm wondering, I haven't kept up with this case a lot. Was there a change in terms of where this is being prosecuted? Because I feel like something happened. 6 of Swords is a change. So something must have happened where something has a certain penalty in one place, but it has a different penalty in another. It's almost like something isn't admissible, or something isn't as harsh, or something is changed. Maybe a difference of a law, or a difference of enacting of that law based on where the jurisdiction is, or where the jury or trial would have been selected. It's like a changing of courts or something caused an issue as well. The Hermit is what Bryan shows up as. The Hermit is about isolation and introspection, which tells me that he's been pretty, didn't he study criminology? I'm not surprised to see him as the Hermit. He has been very much involved in getting the best possible scenario for himself. He's very smart with the Hermit, right? However, that's also interesting because the Hermit is about working alone, right? And I know that there were talks about other people being involved. The 7 of Wands is reversed, which is like an underdog reverse, which is not being able to prove yourself. To me, this says that Bryan Kohberger, his defense, they had a defense. I'm pretty sure it was denied, right? Didn't they have a few things denied with their potential defense? A lot of their defense was dismissed, but they still did have a defense, okay? It may not have been super strong, but they did have a defense. And when the 7 of Wands is reversed and the Hermit's upright, that tells me that they were pretty confident, not super confident, but pretty confident that they would be able to sow doubt in a few key pieces of evidence. They were. And what's weird is that the 7 of Wands reverse and the 6 of Swords on the other side of this, I believe the prosecution, the people going after him, were afraid. There is an issue with connecting of dots. So that's like, it's like if I could place the person and I could place the murder weapon, but I can't place the murder weapon in the person's hand. It's like I can only give you the pieces of information I have. I can't figure out how to connect them. So the problem you have with something like this is if you go to trial, right? You go to a jury. Technically, a jury can sit there and you know, make any decision they want based on their emotions, right? But a lot of times they'll drill into you, like, you need to make sure you understand that, like, the law is different than your feelings, right? And so legally, can you place this? Can you place that? And that sows doubt in their mind. They go, well, I mean, you know, if you can't place this there and this, that, they were worried about their evidence. I'm telling you right now, they're worried about their evidence. They're never, I don't know if they're ever going to admit this, but they were worried about their evidence. So I feel like the reason why this deal was struck is because Bryan's team, their defense got weakened because things weren't admissible. So they were kind of screwed. And then the prosecution, I'm assuming that's what it is, going after him, they were afraid that they weren't able to connect enough dots and that their defense would sow some form of doubt. I also feel like I keep seeing something to do with this fucking car. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to curse, but it's like I can't figure it out and it's frustrating me. Something to do with his car or travel. Something to do with travel or car. I swear to God, didn't I see this in my last reading years ago? There's something to do with that. But I'm also seeing the Fool reverse, which is like a serious thing, and the Tower is like predicting the worst before it began. I'm pretty sure I saw a headline. See, now I don't remember. I mean, I guess I could check, but I don't want to break the channel and then get all messy and have to edit it. So I'll just assume that that's what it was. There has to be someone else involved here. Or at least Bryan Kohberger is trying to say there's someone else involved. Because look at this. This is about, you think of the Tower reverse and the Chariot. That's like, oh, I was trying to make it so it wasn't as bad. Which is like, what? What is that? So to me, that's like another person, the Fool's reverse. Look at this. Ace of Swords is regrets. That's like him having a savior complex and trying to make it not as bad. Ace of Swords reverse. I'm really, really, really interested to see what his plea deal, if he does end up going through with it, what it says. Because the Queen of Wands upright, the Ace of Swords reverse, and the High Priestess, which tells me that, I mean, that is a knife. I definitely think that he was involved with at least one of them, for sure. And I do think that there was an obsession with one of them. Don't we see that? But I don't know if he's going to feel like he did all of them. Like, I see him saying, I didn't do all of them. Or I try to save one of them. Maybe that's what that is. Perhaps, I can't tell if it's like, I try to save one of them or prevent one of them. There's something weird about this. There's something where he's like, I did not do all of them and I tried to save one of them. It's like, I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm reading this wrong or I'm interpreting it wrong. But he's pointing the finger at someone else and being like, I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the good guy, but I'm not the baddest guy is probably a better way to put that. What? Because look at that High Priestess. It's like, oh, trusting the wrong person. And the Prosecution, I'm telling you right now, I already told you. Look at that. Ace of Cups. Somebody's, I guess that could be a witness. Somebody's recollection of events or whatever would be put into question. The Five of Swords is an issue with the details, right? So when we see the Strength card, which is like stubbornness or consistency, but the Ace of Cups is like a person here. That's like a bond. So someone that has like too close to someone. It's about putting someone's testimony in question. Bro, I cannot believe it, but this case would not have been a slam dunk. You know, I'm wondering if the reason they put a gag order is because they didn't have much. And I'm wondering, allegedly, if the reason the gag order happened is because some of the evidence was fucked up and something happened where they messed up with a lot of the evidence that could have been used and wasn't able to be used. I'm wondering if that's why a lot of things are put in quiet. Not because they were afraid of him not getting a fair trial or things, whatever, but because they were afraid of the leaks happening with their fuck-ups. How's that for conspiracy? Something's not right about this. I will also say that Bryan Kohberger's recollection of events, Bryan Kohberger's recollection of events put into question the evidence. There is a giant piece of the puzzle that is missing, and I do believe there's someone else involved. Now, I don't know if they were actually there or if it was someone that he was either talking to or engaging with or whatever beforehand, but there's something else. I can't figure it out. I mean, unless he has a multiple personality, dude. I don't know, but here's what I'll tell you I'll see. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I can't figure it out, but I'm going to tell you the metaphor that I see, and you guys can interpret it for yourself. That might be easier because true crime's really difficult, and I don't want to like throw anyone for a loop, but I'm just going to tell you what I see. I see Bryan Kohberger pointing the finger at someone else. I already told you I feel like he's either being like, they're worse than I am, or I try to prevent one of the deaths or something like that. There's something where he's like pointing the finger at something or someone else, right? It's not that he thinks he's innocent, but it's that he's like, you don't understand the full story. If this story was to be put out into the public, if he were to tell this story, it ruins some of the evidence and basically ruins the narrative of the prosecution. Because the prosecution, while they may have the right person, I don't think they have the right story. But they have to bank on having the right story to nail him. And they don't have enough evidence to go against anything else. So when there was a dismissal of some of the defense's defense about there being another person or about there being another angle towards this, while that was great for the prosecution, the problem is that Bryan is still going to tell his side of the story, or the defense is going to try and tell his side of the story, and some pieces of that information are going to sow doubt in the prosecution's attempt. This case is fucked. This case was fucked from the beginning. Something happened in the very fucking beginning. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse. I'm getting excited. Let me stop doing that. I'm so sorry. I'm just getting very upset. But something happened the first like day or two where crucial evidence was messed up and something was mishandled. And Bryan's side of the story, if told the way he wanted to tell it, would cause an issue with the prosecution. Because it would be like a technicality, right? You think of it that way, like, oh, well, if you have evidence backing up something about what you're saying was going on, and their evidence is claiming that the situation was something else, does that mean the whole prosecution falls apart? Technically speaking, no, it doesn't mean the whole thing falls apart. However, when you put it up against a jury, you're risking the jury sitting there and going, wait a minute. If Bryan's saying this and he has evidence to back up this or a claim to back up this, and the person that's a witness or whatever is not super reliable, and if the story now has a hole in it, does the prosecution have any sort of story at all? If there's a one small hole, do you see what I mean? You can sow doubt. They were in a checkmate, these two, the prosecution and the defense were, hopefully I got them right, whatever, you guys understand what I'm talking about. They were in a stalemate, a checkmate, basically. Both of them were playing a game of chicken. And both of them know that the other one is weakened. They both have weak arguments. So they both knew that, like, we're kind of fucked here. Sorry, I cursed again, but it's the truth. It's like, they're like, one person gets an up, one person gets a down, you know, and they're both just like, what are we going to do? I believe that's why there was a rushed plea deal to save face. And I also believe the reason why that happened is because they were afraid of what the jury might think. Especially it's been long enough where, you know, public memory, you know, it doesn't last that long. And it's been a couple years. So out of sight, out of mind with most people, the jury is not going to have like a jaded view as they would have, you know, back in 2022. So I think that's why they rushed the plea deal. I think that's also why there wasn't too much of like a let's consult the families and everything like that, because I think they realized that this boils down to legality and like the facts that they have and the evidence that they have or lack thereof, rather than the morality of it. And they knew that if they brought the families into it, the morality, obviously the families are directly involved, right? Their morality is like stronger. Like they had that sense of justice. Like, no, like, but unfortunately it seems like legally, like when it comes down to the facts of the matter, the evidence, stuff like that, they were scared. They were scared. They were scared. I also think that they were afraid of sympathy being given to Bryan Kohberger somehow. Something to do with sympathy for Bryan Kohberger. I can't figure out how. I did see an article where someone said that they tried to make a defense that he had autism or something. I'm not sure if that's accurate. But anyways, all I see is there's some form of sympathy for Bryan Kohberger they were worried about. And they were also worried about Bryan Kohberger not only outsmarting them, but I hate to say this, but being likable. They were afraid that he would be likable. I don't know why. There's something about them worried about him. Not, I don't know about charming, but being likable or somehow relatable. I just don't think they wanted to take the risk. They didn't want to take the risk with the jury. They were really, really, really worried. They were like, basically, they were like, there's a 50-50 chance that the jury will side with, not necessarily with Kohberger, but against us. That's what I think they were. And they were like, do we want to take this risk or not? 50% for a big case like this, that's a high risk. And then the plea deal happened. I will say though, I'm really interested to see what Bryan Kohberger says. So I'm like, is he going to lie in the plea deal? Or is he only going to talk about a few of the murders? Is he going to talk about like, I will say this. I'm interested to see his plea deal because I want to see what parts that he omits. Whatever Bryan Kohberger doesn't talk about has to do with part of what his defense would have been. Because there's something about him omitting certain things or not admitting to certain things or something about a timeline that I think might be a lack of closure for some people, unfortunately. But that was a part of their defense. That's the best I can do. I'm looking forward to see what happens. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to see if we can figure out more information. I know I didn't get much, and I know I'm not super educated on this. I haven't kept up, so forgive me, but I'm doing my best here. And if you guys have any information or you can connect the dots better than I just did with some of the metaphors I saw and some of the information I'm getting, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to do this to help. My intention here is to help. So I love you guys. Hopefully you like this and watch the other true crime videos that I've done. If you enjoy true crime, please share the video if you like true crime. It's not always the most popular, but it is one of my favorites because it's one of the hardest things to do, and I love a challenge, and it's always different. And if you enjoy the content, please join the YouTube members. The join button down below. Until next time, bye guys. I've never been more curious in my life.